Welcome to Echo 201, Study Session 11, The Theories of Imperfect Competition. Introduction. In the last two previous study sessions, we discussed two extreme types of markets. However, you will realize that the two markets, that is monopoly and perfect competition, are not common in the real world. Rather, what one sees around is the mixture of the two extremes. The attempt to be more relevant to reality gives rise to the study of the imperfect competition. You will now examine the theories relating to imperfect competition in this study session. Learning outcomes. When you have studied this session, you should be able to 1. Highlight the characteristics and behaviors of the monopolistic competition. 2. Explain equilibrium conditions of an oligopolist. Monopolistic competition. The term monopolistic competition describes a situation similar to perfect competition, with the singular important difference that each producer sells a product that is somewhat differentiated from the product sold by its competitors. Product differentiation implies that each firm does not face a perfectly elastic demand curve. The firm is faced with a downward sloping curve, implying that if the firm raises its price, it will lose business to its competitors, but it will not lose all of its customers just because its prices rise slightly. The slope of the demand curve will, however, depend on the extent to which the firm's product is differentiated from its competitors. The figure below denotes the short-run equilibrium of the firm. The firm is faced with a downward sloping but rather flat demand curve. The firm will, of course, have the usual U-shaped short-run cost curve. The short-run equilibrium of the firm is exactly the same as that of a monopolist. The firm is not a passive price taker. It may juggle price and quantity until profits are maximized. These occurs at output QT and price PT in figure 11.1. Long-run equilibrium. The firm shown in the figure above is earning profits equal to P1 U V W1. And if it is typical of the other firms in the industry, new entrants will be attracted. As more firms enter, the market demand for the product must be shared out among the larger numbers of firms, so that each can expect to have a smaller share of the market. Thus, at any given price, each firm can expect to sell less than it did before the influx of new firms. Each firm's demand curve shifts to the left. This must continue until no profit are being earned. As long as profit exists, there is an attraction for new firms to enter, and the industry will continue to expand. The final position must be like what is indicated in the figure below. The demand curve touches the average total cost at only 1 point, X, corresponding to quantity Q1 and price. Okay. The final position must be like what is indicated in the figure below. The demand curve touches the average total cost curve at only 1 point, X, corresponding to quantity Q1 and price P1. The demand curve is tangential to the average cost curve at point X. At this output, cost is just being covered, since average revenue equals average total cost. Losses occur at any other level of output, since average revenue is less than average total cost. Two major lessons are derived from this equilibrium position. The first is that despite the fact that the monopolistic competitive firm is faced with a downward sloping demand curve, zero profit equilibrium is still possible. The second lesson is that the firm now operates at a point of excess or unused capacity. Although the firm could expand its output to Q2 and thus reduce its average total cost, but this does not pay the firm, since the fall in price will be greater than the fall in cost. Thus, the best position to operate is denoted by X above. Advertising expenditure. Firms operating monopolistic competition engage in advertising as a means of differentiating their product from others. A relevant question is, how much should a profit maximizing firm spend on advertising? A very simple model expresses quantity sold as a linear function of the advertising expenditure and assumes diminishing marginal returns to advertising. An additional assumption is that changes in advertising do not alter price or marginal cost. If price is denoted by P and marginal cost by MC, then the gross marginal profit is P minus MC. By deducting additional advertising outlay from this, we obtain net marginal profit. To maximize total net profit, the firm must ensure that advertising expenditure are at the level where an extra gross profit equals to the extra naira of advertising cost. In other words, if change in quantity is the number of extra units of output sold due to extra naira of advertising, advertising expenditure must be such that change in Q equals P minus MC in bracket, which should be equal to 1. Where the right hand side represent the extra naira spent on advertising and the left hand side is the marginal gross profit due to the last advertising naira. If both sides of the equation above are multiplied by P, we'll obtain P multiplied by change in quantity equals P over P minus MC. Sing for profit maximization, MR must equal MC. The equation can be rewritten as P times change in quantity equals P over P minus MR. Given that MR equals P multiplied by 1 minus 1 over ED, which will give us P over P minus MR equals ED, while price times change in quantity equals marginal revenue. In other words, for profit to be maximized, marginal revenue has to be equated with the elasticity of demand. Differences between perfect competition and monopolistic competition. Number one, this is a derivative of our discussion above. The equilibrium output of the monopolistically competitive firm is less than the output where total cost is at a minimum. Number two, under monopolistic competition, equilibrium price is higher and output is lower than under perfect competition. Number three, under monopolistic competition, equilibrium price is greater than marginal cost. Number four, monopolistically competitive firm will offer wider variety of brands, styles, and possibly qualities than firms in perfect competition. Number five, monopolistically competitive firm will engage in non-price competition, whereas perfectly competitive firm will not. Pricing and output under oligopoly. Oligopoly refers to a market situation where there are few sellers of a particular commodity, such that the activities of one of the sellers are particularly important to the others. The pricing, output, sales promotional activities of a seller must take the reaction of others into account. Usually, a single seller occupies a position of sufficient importance in the product market for changes in his market activities to have repercussion on others. Oligopolies can be classified according to the degree of collusion achieved by the three. 1. Organized collusive oligopoly. 2. Unorganized collusive oligopoly. And 3. Non-collusive oligopoly. The first one refers to a cartel arrangement whereby a central organization is set up which determines the output and the pricing arrangement among the members of the cartel. A good example of this is the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC. The second category goes on an informal basis. There is a gentleman agreement among members as to the prices and output decisions. However, this might not be binding on members who can flout this decision and yet escape prosecution. The third category is a pure oligopolistic system whereby firms take independent action of their own. Activities of any of the firms can lead to bitter rivalry among the firms, for instance, a price war. Short-run equilibrium. For our purpose, we shall take the case of non-collusive oligopoly. This one is characterized by price wars and price rigidity. One seller may lower its price to increase sales. This takes customers away from rivals and they may retaliate with a vengeance. The price war may spread throughout the industry, with each firm trying to undercut the others. The end result may be disastrous for some individual firms. The kinked demand curve is the analytical device frequently used to explain oligopolistic price rigidity curve. The framework is however based on certain assumptions. First, that the industry is a mature one, either with or without product differentiation. A cluster of prices or a price fairly satisfactory to all has been established. Second, if one firm lowers price, others will follow or undercut it in order to retain their shares of the market. Thus, price decrease might not work to the advantage of the firm. Third, if one firm increases price, other firms may not follow the price increase. This firm will lose its customers to other firms who have not increased their prices. The demand curve faced by a single firm in such a situation is pictured diagrammatically in the figure above as FDE. The firm has established a price at P. If it reduces its price below P, other firms follow and it retains its share of the market. The demand curve faced by the firm for price increases is PD. The demand curve FDE is not smooth but is kinked at the established price P. The kinked demand curve has implications for the marginal revenue of the firm. The marginal revenue curve is discontinuous at output X. The portion of the MR curve, FA and SC, corresponds to the two portions of the demand curve, FD and DE, respectively. Cost curves, short-run average cost and short-run marginal cost, are such that at price P, some profit can be made. The MC curve cuts the MR curve within its discontinuous part. Output X and price P are in fact the firm's profit maximizing output and price. If output were less than X, MR would exceed MC, and the firm's output would be increased by expanding output to X. For outputs exceeding X, MC exceeds MR and profit will reduce. One implication of the discontinuity in the MR curve of the oligopolistic firm is that as long as MC cuts MR curve at the discontinuous part of the marginal revenue curve, there is no incentive for the oligopolist to change either price or output. Long run. Two types of adjustments are possible in the oligopolistic industries in the long run. In the first place, individual firms are free to vary the size of their plants. Thus, the relevant cost curves for the firms are the long-run average cost curve and the long-run marginal cost curve. Second, some industry adjustment may be possible in the form of entry into the industry or exit of old firms from the industry. Non-price competition. While oligopolies may be reluctant to encroach upon each other's market shares by lowering product price, they appear to use other methods to achieve this. Product differentiation offers a more subtle and a much safer way of accomplishing approximately the same result. Product differentiation occurs in two major ways. One, advertising, and two, variation in design and quality of product. Summary. In this study session, we noted that monopolistic competition refers to a market situation where there are many sellers of slightly differentiated products. This type of market is very common in real life. Like a monopolist, the firm is, Like a monopolist, the firm in this type of market is faced with a downward sloping demand curve, while the short-run equilibrium of the firm is similar to that of the monopoly. While the short-run equilibrium of the firm is similar to that of the monopolist, in the long run, no firm in the industry could make profit. Any presence of positive profit will attract other firms into the industry, bringing about increase in market supply and a fall in price. This will continue until all excess profit has been wiped off. You also examine oligopoly, a market situation where there are few sellers of a particular commodity such that the activities of one of the sellers are particularly important to the others. 3 types of oligopolies were identified during the course of the study. They are organized collusive monopoly, 2, unorganized collusive oligopoly, and 3, non-collusive oligopoly. A major feature of this type of market is the use of price wars and price rigidity. This is the end of study session 11. Thanks for listening.